Chapter 1809 Dialogue with King Arthur. Dear viewers, please like and subscribe if not already. Thanks. Story continue. Bodaka showed his true colors and wanted to gain command this time. Moreover, most of the forces in the human world participated in this event. Fremons wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to gain leadership in the human world. Zhang Yi rubbed his brows, feeling that these boring political dramas were particularly annoying to him. He didn't need to speak, someone had already spoken out to refute. Newton said coldly, from the current situation, Fremons does not have the ability to command everyone. Otherwise, there would not be information lag, which would lead to the large-scale deaths of troops from other countries due to misjudgment of the strength of mechanical civilization. King Arthur also said in a deep voice, in this incident, we also seriously question Fremons' wartime coordination ability. Those who came here are all powerful organizations from various countries and regions, all wanting to maximize their own interests, so they began to argue. Morana, like Zhang Yi, had no interest in this kind of quarrel. In fact, it is normal for such meetings involving the interests of multiple countries to be held many times. Then the parties negotiated and finally discussed some terms that could be recognized by most of the strong. Among the many parties at this time, Zhang Yi, Newton, King Arthur, and others as outsiders have the same interests. This also saves him from talking anyway, let those who are good at debates argue. However, as long as any of his interests are harmed, he will never agree. The meeting lasted for several hours, and finally only a partial consensus was reached. First, the weaker alien teams are not allowed to act on their own. Because once they encounter a mechanical army with a demon god, or a mechanical army with multiple super-large mechanical life forms, they are basically just delivering food. Second, Fremons has a geographical advantage and can obtain first-hand information on this land through a powerful satellite system and intelligence network. When the mechanical army appears, they can ask troops from various countries to go to the crusade, but they must provide complete information. Third, in the process of performing tasks, the teams of various countries must make all the information on mechanical civilizations obtained public and shared, and they must not keep them privately. Throughout the meeting, Zhang Yi basically watched coldly. He agreed with the first 2 points very much. But the last one is easier said than done. Why should a strong team share intelligence with a weak team? General information is fine. But what about the core secrets? For example, Zhang Yi knew that the energy core of the demon god was an extremely precious substance, the spirit of sacrifice. He couldn't tell anyone. So in the final analysis, only information that does not affect the interests of individuals, teams, or even the country can be shared. So in the end, Bodaka looked directly at Zhang Yi and asked him to share the important information obtained by the team. The aliens from other teams also cast their eyes on Zhang Yi. After all, so far, Zhang Yi is the person who knows the demon god model of mechanical civilization best. Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly, but also revealed some information. The bodies of mechanical civilization are currently divided into 3 types: combat type, engineering type, and the humanoid demon. Of course, it can also be understood that the demon body is a super combat type mechanical life form. Its defense is very strong, and the attacks of the Black Chariot-level aliens cannot easily destroy it. Its fighting methods I have only come into contact with 3 types. The first is close combat, the second is the energy release attack similar to that of a laser cannon, and the third is a powerful defensive force field. This information can be discovered by anyone who has come into contact with the demon body. Zhang Yi said it in advance, which can also help those aliens who have not come into contact with the demon body avoid pitfalls. Everyone listened carefully and memorized it firmly on their smart devices. But Bodaka said with some dissatisfaction, "It's not just that, right? Mr. Chaos, now our alien coalition may face the threat of mechanical life forms at any time. Please don't hold back. As far as I know, you have obtained a demon body and studied it for many days. Now there must be more in-depth research. So, I hope you can share a copy of the research report with us." Zhang Yi's smile became more intense. He tapped the table lightly and said easily, "Of course, I will carefully organize the research materials after I go back and send it to the groups. Anyway, what was sent out was just to organize his words in official language, making it more complicated. However, in fact, Zhang Yi has summarized all the information he can reveal in these few sentences. As for the rest, I'm sorry, I have nothing to say. Even if they don't know the deeper secrets of the demon, it will not affect their battle with the demon body. Bodaka saw that Zhang Yi answered so quickly and knew that Zhang Yi was not going to tell everything. His eyes were fixed on Zhang Yi. You must not hold back, otherwise, it would be dishonest to the human coalition. Am I that kind of person? Zhang Yi looked at Bodhaja with a smile on his face, but the smile was very cold. Mr. Bodhaja, if you have this attitude, then I think our cooperation will become very unpleasant. Bodhaja was also helpless at this time. After all, if Zhang Yi handed over any research report, he had no way to prove that Zhang Yi had hidden something. That's not what I meant. I just hope that everyone can focus on the overall situation now. Pa. Zhang Yi applauded. Right. Absolutely right. Everything is for the glory of mankind. He suddenly stood up, put his hands on the table, looked at Bodaga and said, but the biggest beneficiary of this operation is obviously you, Fremons. Then, at least you should put yourself in the right position. Don't always look like you can lead us. He opened his arms and looked at everyone. If we leave, will Fremons be able to resist the attack of mechanical civilization alone? Let me make a hypothesis. We all withdraw from Fremons now, and let you clean up this mess by yourselves. When Fremons is finished, we can still come back to pick the fruits. Zhang Yi's words made many faces smile, and then looked at Bodaga with a playful look. Bodaga's face turned green, and he pointed at Zhang Yi with a cold face. Chaos. You've had enough. Zhang Yi raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth. If it weren't for the fact that you went to Tianhai City and helped us fight the war before, I would not have been lenient with you according to my past temper. Bodaka wanted to say something else, but suddenly, a biting cold air appeared in the conference room. Bodaka's body was instantly frozen, and he turned into an ice sculpture. His eyes were wide open, but he couldn't move for a moment. This cold current made Zhang Yi feel a sense of oppression. If it weren't for the fact that the Time Second Hand didn't anticipate the other party's hostility, he would have deployed the all-seeing defense. The conference room suddenly became quiet. The power came from the person next to Bodaka, who had been silent, but hard to ignore. The goddess of winter, Morana. Bodaka closed her mouth, and Morana's eyes swept across the faces of Zhang Yi, King Arthur, and others. There was no expression on her face. When she spoke, her voice was thick and a bit like a man's. You came to Fremons to cooperate with us. There are dangers here, but also endless treasures. Continuing to argue will only waste our time. So next, let's speak with our own strength. Only the strong are worthy of the right to speak. Morana stood up. Today's meeting ends here. Adjourned. We will notify you of the next action. After saying that, she left the meeting room without looking back. Bodhaja was frozen, and no one came to help. In the end, 2 strong soldiers carried him away. Brian slapped the table at this time and gave a thumbs up to the outside. Hey, this girl is pretty good. Newton raised his glasses and said lightly, the alien troops sent by various countries are all top masters in their respective fields. No one is willing to obey the arrangements of others easily. Therefore, the best way is to win the right to speak with strength. She is right. Unlike that guy who can only talk big. Brian spread his hands. Administrative officials always make this kind of mistakes, but in wartime, it is this kind of people who are the most troublesome. Zhang Yi stood up, and King Arthur also stood up. The two looked at each other, with complex lights flowing in their eyes. But there is a kind of look that both sides can detect. That is the desire to defeat the other. King Arthur hopes to defeat Zhang Yi, to maintain the glory of himself and the Levent family, and to prove his strength as one of the 4 Knights of Dawn, to the Tong organization. And Zhang Yi just thinks that since he can't avoid this battle, he has to think about how to get rid of this guy cleanly. Well, I wonder if there is a chance to put some chronic poison in his food, or investigate whether he is allergic to seafood. A fair duel like a gentleman? Don't joke, that's too much effort. If he can defeat his opponent outside the battlefield, Zhang Yi will never delay until he goes to the battlefield. What he wants is a steady victory, without any surprises. Chaos, let's talk. King Arthur spoke first. As you wish. Zhang Yi also wanted to ask King Arthur something. The metal palm that this guy took out must have come from the demon god body. From this, it can be judged that his strength has definitely reached the bishop level. The two left the conference room building and walked into the snow. The Samran city of Fremons is close to the Arctic Circle. It is extremely cold. The north wind whistles like a knife. If he is not wearing combat uniforms, even Zhang Yi's physical strength can hardly withstand such an invasion. They walked into the snow, keeping a sufficient distance between the two. Zhang Yi has been weighing in his heart. If he suddenly attacks at this time, what is the probability of being able to kill King Arthur directly? However, he does not have much information about this guy, and he may not be able to take advantage of it if he acts rashly, so after thinking for a long time, he did not decide to attack, but was secretly alert. An invisible thick barrier had appeared between the two of them. That's right, that was the dimensional door that Zhang Yi opened. Seeing this, King Arthur smiled and said, I told you that I won't attack you before I solve the troubles of the mechanical civilization. You don't need to be on guard against me like this. Zhang Yi smiled coldly. Although you said that, you have been holding the sword in your hand very tightly. He glanced down and saw that King Arthur was indeed holding a knight's long sword in a sheath. The scabbard and hilt were very gorgeous, inlaid with red and blue gems. King Arthur smiled and said, I didn't plan to bring a sword. It's just that I heard about some of your glorious deeds in the past, so some necessary safety measures must be taken. Zhang Yi touched his nose angrily. Those are just the views of ignorant people on me. King Arthur did not continue to argue with Zhang Yi. The two had already left the active area far away, and there was only a small black left in the distance of the Fremons building. He turned around and faced Zhang Yi. I know you hunted the demon god Gui among the 10 demon gods, so I want to exchange some information with you. Zhang Yi stared at him. One question each. King Arthur nodded. Okay. I'll ask first. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. King Arthur said he had no objection. After all, he was the first to make this request. Zhang Yi, which demon god did you meet? King Arthur. King Arthur, it's my turn. How did you catch Gui? I fought with that thing for a long time. His attribute panel has almost no defects. Even if he was seriously injured, his core body was not damaged, and he could still burst out amazing combat power and speed. When he wanted to escape, I couldn't stop him at all. This is why King Arthur only got a palm. Zhang Yi quickly got a piece of information in his mind. King Arthur did not have the ability of space blockade. At least, he could not chase the escaping demon body. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Don't forget, I am a space alien. If he can't beat me, he can't run away. King Arthur frowned. That's not right. Space aliens just move fast, but without absolutely powerful force to suppress him, you can't capture him. Zhang Yi smiled without saying anything. In that battle, if Gui chose to escape, it would be difficult for Zhang Yi to catch him. At least he wouldn't do that, because Zhang Yi didn't know what he would encounter in the pursuit. But in that battle, it was obvious that Gui wanted to protect the engineering troops' operations in Ordo City and had no way to retreat. After all, he is a man-made man, and he doesn't seem to value his own life more than his loyalty to the mission. The situation King Arthur encountered was probably different from Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi asked, tell me the basic information about Gung. King Arthur laughed. That's not a problem. That's a problem. King Arthur was not stupid. Okay, but you have to exchange Gui's information with me, and we'll still talk one by one.